Snow drifted in soft, shimmering flakes, as if the sky were quietly grieving. And on a lonely park bench, beneath glowing Christmas lights, sat Ethan Brooks, once a brilliant young CEO, now a man hollowed by loss, his breath unsteady, his heart dimmed beyond recognition. If you believe in compassion, hope, and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more stories. Let's begin. Snow fell in slow, drifting flakes that made the city look softer than it felt. Christmas lights twinkled from every lamppost, every shop window, every tree, but none of that warmth reached Ethan Brooks. He sat alone on a weathered bench near the center of the park, his gloved hands resting uselessly in his lap, his breath a faint cloud in the icy air. To the world, he was a brilliant CEO, a man who built success out of ambition and discipline. But tonight, he felt like a hollow shell wearing an expensive coat. It had been exactly 1 year since he lost his mother, the only person who reminded him, even in the storm of boardrooms and deadlines, that he was more than his achievements. He promised her he would slow down. He didn't. He promised he would take care of himself. He didn't. He promised he wouldn't let grief consume him. And yet it had swallowed every part of him whole. The city buzzed with holiday cheer around him, but Ethan felt invisible within it, like a ghost wandering, a celebration meant for everyone but him. A tear slipped down his cheek, sharp and warm in the freezing air. He didn't bother brushing it away. No one was looking. No one ever did. Until tiny footsteps approached, slow, determined, crunching through the snow as if drawn by something the world had missed. Ethan lifted his head just in time to see a small girl toddling toward him. She couldn't have been more than 4 or 5. Her red velvet dress fluttered as she walked, and her knitted green hat sat slightly crooked, bouncing with each step. She stopped right in front of him, studying him with wide, solemn eyes. Then, without asking permission or hesitating, she raised her mitten and gently wiped the tear from his cheek. "Don't cry, mister," she said softly. "You can borrow my mom." Ethan blinked, stunned by the simplicity and sincerity of the offer. Before he could find words, her mother arrived, breathless, cheeks pink from the cold, a warm smile on her face despite her surprise. "I'm so sorry," she said quickly. Lila has a big heart and a tiny sense of boundaries. But she didn't sound upset. If anything, she looked at Ethan with gentle concern. Lila tugged on his sleeve. "Give him the present," she insisted. Before Natalie Reed, her mother, could intervene, Lila pressed a shiny green gift box into Ethan's hands, her eyes glowing with childlike certainty. "It's for you," she said. "You look like you needed a little Christmas." The gift was light, almost weightless, but the moment felt heavy with meaning Ethan couldn't yet name. Inside the box lay a homemade ornament, a paper snowflake coated with uneven glitter, tied with a slightly wrinkled red ribbon. One corner was bent, and the cuts were far from symmetrical, yet Ethan felt something stir inside him, something painfully close to hope. "Lila makes ornaments every Christmas Eve," Natalie explained, "to give to people who look like they need a little light." Ethan swallowed hard. "Why me?" Natalie answered simply. "Because she noticed you." Ethan hadn't been noticed in a long time. Not really. People saw his title, not his heart. His success, not his sorrow. Unexpectedly, he found himself speaking. He told them about his mother, her kindness, her warmth, her voice that guided him even when he pretended not to need it. He confessed how he broke the promises he made to her, how grief turned work into a shield he hid behind, how empty success felt without love to anchor it. Natalie didn't interrupt. She didn't offer solutions. She just listened, with a softness that somehow made him feel safe enough to keep going. Meanwhile, Lila climbed onto the bench beside him, resting her small head against his arm as if she had decided he belonged there. She hummed a Christmas tune, her legs swinging back and forth. The cold in Ethan's chest loosened, just a little. As the lights around them brightened, Lila suddenly jumped up and tugged Ethan's hand. "Come, you have to stand under the big shiny tree. Mama says good things happen there." Ethan let himself be pulled, feeling oddly lighter with each step. The massive Christmas tree towered above them, glowing gold and red like a beacon for anyone who needed warmth. Families gathered beneath it, taking pictures, sipping cocoa, laughing. Ethan had avoided scenes like this all year. They reminded him too much of everything he'd lost. But standing there now, With Lila spinning in circles and giggling, he felt something different. When she twirled close enough to grab his hand, he let out a laugh, soft at first, then fuller, warmer. It startled him. He'd forgotten what genuine laughter sounded like coming from his own body. Natalie watched them with a smile that wasn't pity, wasn't forced, just kind. She stepped beside Ethan, brushing snow from her hair, and said quietly, "Pain doesn't mean you have to stay alone." The words settled in him like a spark waiting to ignite. For the first time in a year, Christmas didn't feel like a wound. It felt like a window. When Natalie invited him to join them for hot cocoa, Ethan hesitated only for a second before Lila grabbed his hand again with absolute confidence. Inside the small cafe, golden lights glowed against frosted windows. Lila's laughter filled the space as she drew shapes in the fog on the glass. Natalie told gentle stories of their own traditions, ones born not from wealth, but from love and resilience. Ethan listened, feeling something unfurl inside him that had been dormant for months. When they stepped back into the snowy night, Lila held one of his hands while Natalie walked beside him, her presence steady and warm. Christmas lights shimmered overhead like stars close enough to touch. For the first time since losing his mother, Ethan felt a hand, not physically, but emotionally, pulling him back into the world of the living. Lila squeezed his fingers and whispered, "Lonely people are just friends waiting to meet." Ethan felt his throat tighten, but not from pain, from gratitude. Because on that Christmas Eve, a paper snowflake and a child's small act of kindness didn't just brighten his night. They began guiding him home, back to hope, back to connection, back to the possibility of a life warmed by love again. Thanks for being here. Like and subscribe to keep more unforgettable stories coming.